Hi, and welcome to this FORNAV coffee break. My name is René Brummel. I'm a product specialist at FORNAV, and I will be your presenter today. As this coffee break is live, you can ask your questions via the GoToWebinar question window. We will answer them at the end of the coffee break. Today, we're going to discuss the new health checks for your Business Central reports. In an earlier coffee break, we have discussed how FORNAV checks your report layouts for obsoleted tables and fields, changed datasets, and other issues. We've added a QR code link to that video here, so you can have a look at that. In our recent release, we have improved the health check with some more tests. We have focused mostly on the data item and record links because it's notoriously difficult to find those kinds of problems. Let's go and have a look. To demonstrate the new health test, I'm going to use these steps. Prerequisites, what do I need to get going? In step 2, I will test for duplicate language IDs. In step 3, I will test for broken data item filters. In step 4, I will test for broken record links. Let's start with the first step. Today, I will be working on a Business Central on-premise server with the Business Central 2025 Wave 2 release. I've installed the FORNAV customizable report pack, and I've executed a step-by-step wizard from the assisted setup to get started. I've installed the FORNAV Designer, which is part of the FORNAV Toolbox. You can download the FORNAV Toolbox from the FORNAV website. And of course, everything I do today will also work in a cloud environment. The first thing we will test for is duplicate Windows language IDs. Business Central uses the language ID to set the language for the user interface and for the translation of the reports. Since we use language codes in Business Central cards, we need to link those codes to the language ID, and we use the languages page in Business Central for that. It's possible to create two languages with the same Windows language ID. This will confuse the report translations since Business Central may use the wrong one. So I'll show you what I mean. The first thing I'm going to do is check if there's any health issues right now. So just open the FORNAV setup page. You can see right now everything is healthy. There's no problems at all, which is right where I wanted to start this webinar. I'm going to open the languages page. And what you can see here is the default languages page that Microsoft fills with the default data. So this is what you get when you spin up a new Business Central database. And one of the problems we've seen is that in some cases we have converted databases that are years or maybe even decades old that don't have the correct entries in here. And one of the things that we see very often is that we have ENU, which is English USA, which is pretty much a default in Business Central. And what happens is that there is somewhere an old language code that is EN, and people set that to 1033 as well. There we go. 1033 is the Windows language ID. That's the same ID that Windows uses to set the language in your desktop. If I refresh the page, you will see what the problem may be. What we do when we run a FORNAV report is that technically we see that the user card is set to ENU or the customer card or the vendor card. And we switch the language to the number 1033. So that's what the report is actually using. Then when it comes to getting more translations, so we get automatic translations for the payment terms, we get automatic translations for country region codes, etc. What we do is we know that the report is running on 1033. We find in the first 1033 in the list, and we start trying to find the translations for EN, but there aren't any because everything is set to ENU. And that is exactly the problem that we're trying to fix right now. What you can do is run the health check. We can see there's a problem. And what we get is an error, check broken language. And if I drill down into that, it tells me the health check. The Windows language ID 1033, of course, occurs more than once in the language table. To fix, simply open record and remove the one that you don't need. In this case, it's the EN one. And go back. Now, I spoke to somebody yesterday who said, but we really need these double languages because we have German Germany, we have German Switzerland, we have German Austria. And that may be, let's do a quick health check just to make sure everything is okay. That may be, but there's actually a function inside Business Central for that. Open the languages page again, and you can see that for German we have German 1031, and German Switzerland and German Austria actually have different numbers, and we calculate the fallback languages based on these numbers. So if we can't find a translation for DEA, we fall back to DES. If we can't find anything there, we fall back to German. So you may use DEA, DES, and DEU all around in your reports in FORNAV, and you only ever need to do translations for DEU because FORNAV will use the DEU as a fallback. That's built into Business Central and built into FORNAV as well. So there's no need to have multiple language codes with the same Windows language ID. The next improvement I would like to show is testing the filtering of records and data items. And since these tests work the same for records and data items, I'll just show them on the data items. When you filter a data item or a record in a FORNAV report, you can filter by any type of text-based value. Unfortunately, for these filters to work, the filter must match the type and maximum length of the field. And let's go and have a look at what I mean. I'm just going to grab standard FORNAV report, which is going to be the order. Health check says everything is healthy. Let's grab a copy of the built-in layout and start designing that. I will add a data item, which is going to be the item table, which is 27. And that gets me the data item link number is field number, which is perfectly fine. And that gets me a new data item. Now these data items, you can provide further filters for them in the data item table view. And you could do something like number 2 should be a constant value. If I filter this with a text that's a bit longer than is allowed, using this text is longer than 20 because that text it is actually longer than 20 characters. Hit OK, save my report, go to my report and the health check. FORNAV will tell you that there is a problem. And the problem that exists, if I drill down into the health check card, it says the filter, this text is longer than 20, is not valid because the length of the string is 22, but the maximum length is 20. So you cannot filter the field NO2 with a text that is longer than 20 characters. The health check gives you the source name, so it's the data item. You can use that to find the actual data item. If you look in your FORNAV report, it is actually the data item that gives the problem. And what we also do is give you the table number that is causing the problem. We give you the app where the table number is with the app publisher, and we give you the exact link view and the error message that happens when you go and run the report. This doesn't just happen for field length problems, it also happens for field type problems. Let's see, you can also say unit price. You can give that a filter, and you can say unit price is greater than hello. Now this is obviously a bit of a silly example, but it illustrates exactly the point. Unit price is a decimal, so it is a number, and greater than hello is that filters on a text value. If I save this, run the health check, I get a second error, and this second error says the filter where unit price is filter greater than hello is not valid for the table item unit price because hello can't be evaluated into a type decimal. And once again, we give you report and table information, and we tell you exactly what the source of the problem is, the data item. And finally, And we already tested the data item links and some of the record bits for missing and obsolete fields. That means that if you would filter or link on a field that somebody makes obsolete, then the health check would already give you an error. We have expanded that to all the other bits where you can use fields and filters in records and data items. And in addition to that, we have added a test to see if the links that were set on the records and data items match the type and length of the source fields. Again, maybe a bit abstract and technical, so let's go and have a look to see what I mean. I will add a record this time, and like I said, this stuff works the same for records and data items because the filtering is more or less the same. Once again, I will add the item table. I'm going to set the link reference to the line. And what this gives me is a record, item 2, because I've already got one. And it's got the link number is field number. Now this is fine because the number field on both sides of this data item link, number field on the item and the number field on the sales line, are both 20 characters long. What happens if you would, for instance, say I'm going to link the number field on the item to the description field on the sales line? Hit OK, hit save. Run the health check. And this gives us something slightly different. This gives us a warning. And that is, we have given a warning in this case because you may have a perfectly functioning filter, because the description in the sales line does not have to be longer than 20 characters, but it can be. And in some functional system, some cases, this is a perfectly functional record link, in which case you can ignore the warning. But what also might happen is that at some point, the description might get longer than 20 characters. And then you have a problem because the report simply says, error, this is too long and I'm not filtering on this. And that's why we've added the health check in here. You can see once again, source name is JavaScript record item 2, which you can find in the records as item 2. And we give you exactly the problem that we have. The field description in sales line is longer than the field number in table item. And we give you the report where this happens, the table number of the table you are trying to filter, which is the table 27, the item table with the app name and publisher. And we give you the table link. It's trying to link to the line record table 37 and field 11, which is also in the base application. This is not just a problem for field lengths that are different. Again, we also have to deal with field types. So let's say I want to filter, want to link the type field, which is an enum or an option value. Let's say I want to link that to quantity. Hit OK, OK, and save. Run the health check again. That also gives me a warning, and that gives me a warning of the type field link type mismatch. And that's because the field quantity in table sales line is not of the same type as the field type in item. Now there's a bunch of types, field types inside Business Central, and if you're curious about that, you can Google and you will end up on Microsoft Learn, and that will tell you exactly what there is. There are a couple of fields with different types that you can link. So you can filter a decimal by an integer. You can filter a description by a code. And we have taken that into account when we test the filters. If there is something that works, we don't tell you anything. If there is something that doesn't work, you get a warning, or in case of a broken filter, you get an error. Let's recap what we just did. We have expanded the health check with some more tests. One of the new tests we have added is to check for the double Windows language ID to prevent translation errors. We've also expanded the record and data item tests to test field links, not just for missing and obsolete fields, but we now also test the validity of the links and filters to make sure they match the fields you want to filter. Thank you very much for listening to me so far. I can see we have no questions, so I'm going to wrap up this coffee break. If you want to know more about FORNAV, or if you want to download the FORNAV toolbox, please visit our website. If you want to install FORNAV in Business Central Cloud, please visit the Microsoft App Source. You can watch more videos about FORNAV on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions about FORNAV, please email them to support@fornav.com. For a full list of upcoming and recorded coffee breaks, please visit fornav.com/coffeebreak. Thank you very much for joining me today, and goodbye.